Hey, welcome to Sing and Cook on Sanjeev Kapoor's Khazana, and my name is Harpal Singh Sokhi. Today I've come with a recipe which has been a request made by a lot of my viewers. All of them who love me, watch me on YouTube, they have all requested that, Chef, please show me a recipe of Rajma. And today I'm sharing a recipe with Rajma. Personally, the way my mother used to cook in the house. I'm sharing the same thing with you all. Now, for Rajma, what I've seen is you get at least 3 varieties of Rajma in the market. I'm sure you would be getting, wherever you are living, probably 1 variety. But in India, we get 3 varieties of Rajma. The one which is dark in color, I've been watching this since my childhood. My mother cooked this, religiously in her kitchens. So this is the dark one, which has been very famous since my early childhood days, and I've been eating this. Then there's another variety, which is the light bean, and it's got dark specks in it. We call it Chitri Rajma. And my professional chefs from Mexico have told me that they love using this ones. And there's another variety which I cook at home very well. This one is a smaller bean and is the most tastiest of all. Now this one, people say, is a Kashmiri Rajma. Where do you get the best Rajma, people say? On your way to Kashmir, there's a place called Katra. And in Katra, there are a variety of dhabas who sell this Rajma. Beautiful to eat, lovely to eat. The small ones are the best ones which I like. And there's another interesting fact about Rajma. But while I start my recipe, I'll keep sharing the facts with you about Rajma. The pan on fire, oil. So I've got here bay leaf, 2 to 3 bay leaf in this. I've got here black cardamom whole black cardamom. These are stronger ones, and 5 to 6 of them in this. While the oil gets hot and the spices that I've added, they also get infused in the oil. I get little flavor. I've got some onions here. We remove these Rajmas here, and the oil gets hot. Let me grate the onion in this. Easier way of adding onions. Most of my viewers ask me, Chef, you cut so finely, how would we cut it? So I'm showing them a way in which they can simplify the procedure of using onions, So grate the onions from the larger side of the grater. The perforation is the larger side. Keep grating the onions and keep sauteing the onions also. Grating the onions also make you cry. But that's an easier way. That's the reason I showed you. Keep sauteing the onions now till it is lightly brown. Now little more facts about Rajma, Rajma landed in our country early 19th century. And when it landed in our country, people from north used to use this bean a lot. And they used to cook this with the dals. But when they used to cook it together, they realized that the dal used to get cooked, but the Rajma used to remain hard. And hence, they started cooking the Rajma separately, and the great Rajma Masala was born, which is what I'm sharing with you here today. I also believe that if Rajma landed from Mexico, a lot of things from Punjab went to Mexico, isn't it? And in Mexico, the staple food is tortillas, corn flour, bread, and refried beans, which is from Rajma. So I always feel that a lot of my brothers from Punjab went to Mexico and taught some of the Punjabi food which became Mexican food. That's how I mix. I love this, So here's the Rajma. The onions are now brown. Let me add my ginger and garlic paste. 2 tablespoons of ginger paste and 2 tablespoons of garlic paste. I love to put a lot of ginger and garlic into my Rajma. And of course, you have to saute for a longer time because it's very pungent. So you need to saute these pastes for a longer time for the raw flavor to actually go off. So when you add this large quantity, Saute for around 3 to 4 minutes. The ginger and garlic paste now sauteed well. Let me add fresh tomato puree. Now this is puree of 6 tomatoes, 6 large tomatoes. This is also something my viewers ask me, Chef, you're adding tomatoes, at least show me the size. Today I don't have the size, but 6 large tomatoes pureed into this. I'll cook this for at least 8 to 10 minutes because the raw flavors of tomato need to go off, Tomatoes in this, let it get cooked for at least 8 to 10 minutes. I've got some green chilies here. Slit the green chilies. These green chilies are very, very strong. The smaller, darker in color. Hence, I'll be a little careful in using them. So not more than 2 to 3. Prefer using the seeds out. Remove the seeds. Green chilies, people say that they're very hot and spicy, but they're a good source of vitamin C, yeah? So eating chilies is not all that bad. So in goes the green chilies into my tomato, onion, ginger garlic paste. Keep stirring at intervals. The tomatoes are now almost cooked, so let us add the dry spices. I've got here coriander powder. So 2 teaspoons of coriander powder into this, 1 teaspoon of Kashmiri chili powder. Now, if you want to use less spicy, use less. If you want to use it more, use more. So, Kashmiri chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon turmeric in this, cumin powder. I love cumin powder when it's roasted, and this one is roasted and ground fine. So, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin powder into this. Garam masala, beautiful garam masala in this. I'll add 1/2 teaspoon now, and while we finish, I've got here Rajma Masala. Now this is something which you get ready-made in the stores. It's a mixture of a lot of things, and I'm using 2 teaspoons of Rajma Masala into my Rajma. All the spices have oils in them. The coriander seed, the cumin seed, chilies, all of them have oils, and those oils need to get infused in the mixture. Getting cooked. Let me also add salt. Salt with my hands. You get the feeling of how much you want to add. Traditionally, we all learnt in India, isn't it? I'm sure if you're staying abroad, you would still be using your hands. Salt here. Once you've added the salt, keep stirring. Now, the spices seem to be cooked very well. What I've got here is a bowl full of boiled rajma. So this rajma, you need to boil, but you don't have to throw the liquor. The liquor that is there, you don't have to throw it. So I've got the liquor also here in a bowl, and I've got the boiled rajma. In goes the complete rajma. And the liquor. Let me mix this up thoroughly. Looking good, almost tasting like what my mother used to make. Beautiful rajma. I used to travel as a kid to Punjab, and in my native village, which was beyond Amritsar, in a small village called Patti, and which is absolutely near the Indo-Pak border. And there was a small village where my granny used to live, and she used to cook this overnight, And at that point of time, food was probably cooked on cow dung fire. And slow cooking, beautiful. You get a beautiful taste of all the food that you cook on slow fire. And that's why today probably all the chefs from across the world, they say that slow cooking enhances the flavors of food. Back to basics, right? Now, let me cover this rajma and cook for at least 15 minutes. The more it gets cooked, the better it will taste. That doesn't mean that you keep cooking. Of course, cooking would be for around 15 minutes. I always personally like rajma the next day. So you cook probably in the evening and it tastes best the next day morning. So let this rajma get cooked for around 15 minutes. In the meanwhile, some more good things need to be added to the rajma. I've got here ginger. So let me cut some juliennes of ginger. Shred them. Let me add the juliennes of ginger into my rajma. Looking nice and beautiful. Give a gentle stir and cover and cook again. Keep stirring the rajma in between at regular intervals. And I used to also see my granny, she used to mash some of the rajma with the back of the spoon. And now it started looking good, nice and thick. Reminds me of the rajma that my granny used to make. So let's cover and cook this for a few more minutes. And finally, what I've got here? I've got here some mint leaves. Some mint leaves. Let me chop them fine. And add this to the rajma. I've got some kasuri methi. Now kasuri methi is dried fenugreek leaves which have been lightly roasted in a pan and ground to a fine powder. Some kasuri methi. And finally my garam masala. Half a teaspoon of garam masala. Give a final stir and the rajma is now ready. So let me taste the rajma. Beautiful. That little mint hint is superb. You generally add fresh coriander, but for a twist, I've added little mint. That's my personal favorite, and I love rajma with a little hint of mint. Now, this is the thickness of the rajma. You see, some of the beans are mashed and some are whole. Now, that's the beauty of a rajma. We should mash some of them with the back of the spoon and leave some of them whole.